Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to the progress report for May 2021. This is the video where I kind of talk about how things are going with the pens and inks that I'm using this month. And I have to admit that in addition to the 8 that I did for May, I also inked up 6 more because, well, last month was April and it was 30 inks, 30 days, an ink challenge. And I just had so many ideas and so many leftover thoughts from that, I think. So you'll see when we get there. I've made another page where I did those, so I'll show you, and I'll show you what's going on. But first, I just wanted to talk about each one of these and how things are going, because it's a mixed bag, and there's some there's a little bit of work that I need to do on a couple of the pens, I think. But let's get started. I'm going to move this over and just get one at a time to talk about them, I think. Whoops, there goes the shadows. I thought everything would be better by now, but it isn't. Okay, so I guess we can move this. Okay, so the first one is the Hondian, the purple with the Fude nib. This is going fantastic. It's tied for first place with the Opus 88 Coloro, actually. This lays down such a thick, beautiful writing. It's just it's suited really well for my large printing, I think, and also my cursive, because I've written a lot of fountain pen letters, pen pal letters, what I'm trying to say. So I've already had to refill this, which is not, you know, that is not such a surprise, because it's got the converter and it's full right now because I had to refill it. But it lays down such a thick line width that didn't surprise me, but it also showed me that I was really using it a lot. I love it, and it's sort of like one of those surprises, like it just blew me out of the water. So that's how that's going. Super well. Great for letters. Okay, the next pen is the Wancai Moonman Mini in the clear. And I noticed that this Sailor Manyo Akebi is kind of, has the propensity to stain, just like Bunga Box Lamont. So I had this cap pretty clean, and now I think it's purpley again, but that's gonna happen, and I'm not gonna try to baby it. It'll clean. It'll mostly clean off, I think, at the end, and I'll probably do a little cleaning between. The trouble is, I probably should have put the broad nib onto this one, because I just like seeing it with a broad nib, and that explains one of the ink ups that I'll show you in a minute, that on page 2 here. So this is going fine. I mean, it's smooth enough and everything. I just like seeing that beautiful ink in a broad nib. So I'm not picking this up quite as much, but I'm taking it. I always take this little one on Saturday with my little commonplace notebook when I'm going to see the dogs. And so that's going to be, you know, I'll be having it in service then. And I have used it, but just not for letter writing. So, and there's nothing technically wrong with the nib or the way the ink is flowing. That's just me. So the next pen, this pen, this is the Zenzoi with a fine medium nib. I finally got the loop out, and I realized that I've got a slight misalignment of the tines, and that could be, well, that is, at least right now. I don't know when it happened, but definitely that's got to be fixed, or the nib's got to be replaced, and it appears to be a number 5 nib, so I do have some replacements, but it's just slightly, ever so slightly off, and I wonder if what I thought was feedback could be that, you know. But that, whoops, there goes my microphone, good grief. That dark J. Herbin Poussiere de Lune, it's a dark purple. It's really pretty in it, and I love the look of the pen and the feel. It has a nice weight, and the section is even comfortable enough for me. But we've got to do something about the nib. So I've started up a list here because it's been so crazy. So the first thing on the list is to go ahead and either fix this nib, which I know a couple of things I can try to get that back. Shouldn't be too hard. Or if you know, if I need to, I can just swap another number 5 onto it. I've got one that actually is a broad nib that I might put on it. So before the end of the month, I'll have that done, because I'd really like to do that. Okay, let's see. Then the next pen is the Reform 4328 with the Bock nib. Now this is really beautiful, and it gives me kind of a line width, line variation and everything, and it's really, really nice. Every once in a while, though, it doesn't keep up with me, but I've had that happen with other pens, and this is more of a vintage pen. So what I noticed is if I just settle down and not write quite so fast, oh, this wire, it really drives me crazy. I thought that was going to work out, but it isn't. Okay. Technical stuff just drives me crazy. So this has been going really well, though. And I at first I thought, oh, it's not flowing right. But it is. It's just that I'm always writing too fast. So I'm going to try to, when I'm writing a letter, just really practice that mindfulness of slowing down, because that's important anyway. So next is the Platinum 3776 Century Nice with the broad nib. And everything's going great with this. It was replaced because my original one got a section crack on it after about 3 months. And it's just super smooth like the other one. And this is the Robert Oster Muddy Crown, and I really like it. I like it, and I've used it for letter writing quite a bit. Now, admittedly, that color just doesn't quite pop the way the Parker Green does in the Opus, but I've really enjoyed the way the pen writes, and it's really nice. Okay, so next up is the Monteverde MVP with blue squares. This is a little pocket pen, and the cap posts to give you plenty of length on your pen. And I just, let's see, it's marked a broad nib, and it's a broad nib. But I'm thinking about trying another ink first, and then if that doesn't do the trick, then I've written down, try another ink, and then do a nib swap or smooth the nib if it's not better. Now, it's not bad, but I don't know. And it's very consistent, but it just appears to be like a fine medium instead of a broad. So it kind of drives me crazy. But I was trying to think, yeah, it is, this Lamy Turquoise is just a little bit dry compared to some of the other inks that I'm used to. There, I don't know whether my voice is going to hold out. I just realized this index card is not great. Let's go ahead and get in on the Tomoe River paper. This is a little Kikuyo. I'm not sure how to say that, but it's got Tomoe River paper. Let's go ahead and try it on there. Maybe I can show you what I'm talking about. I'm not sure. Let's make this just a little closer. It's not actually probably what most people would consider a problem. It's just a personal preference, I think, because I haven't felt like I was getting it real uneven or anything. It's almost as if, well, how come I'm not getting more ink? And yet it looks nice. Has a little bit more spread, but see, I'm thinking that that's what it is. It's a combination of a finer nib than I'm used to for a broad, and then a drier ink at the same time. So probably what I can do is just, I have the little caps from Great Fountain, I think is the name, that were sent to me, and I could cap off that little cartridge and just put another. Yeah, I can try another ink. Whoa, okay, well maybe there's part of the problem, that the ink was kind of sitting down here. This is what this progress report is all about for me, is slowing down, not just, pummeling out letter after letter, but looking to see how things are really going. Lamy Turquoise. And since this is pretty much a cartridge-only pen, unless it turns out that I can eyedropper it, and I just haven't liked the looks of it for eyedroppering, because I felt like the threads were, let me see if I can show you. Oh, well, I just felt like the threads were pretty far apart for eyedroppering, but maybe somebody out there has ever already tried it. Maybe I could just try it and be very careful at first to see how it goes. But I don't want to put a pocket pen in my pocket unless I'm sure that the eyedropper job worked. So kind of more, with this one, I'm kind of more excited about using it with a cartridge. So, but, you know, it's beautiful ink. And anybody who likes a fine nib, but this is a broad nib on here. It's not a medium, it's not a fine, it's a broad nib. So anyway, I think that I'll probably end up replacing it, but this whole nib unit screws in and out too. So my other question that I haven't determined yet, and I don't want to break the pen, is whether or not I can just pull it out. It may also be friction fit, but it's definitely a nib unit that's screwed in there, because I already found out about that and realized, oh, that's what we're dealing with. So we'll just have to see whether I can find it. I think I'll try the ink first, because I have wetter inks that I can try, and that may kind of do it. But I actually might try the KWZ Hawaii Blue, because I wanted another really turquoise, a nice popping bright ink. So that's how it's going with that pen. There's really nothing wrong with it, and it's got just gorgeous shading with that ink. It's really pretty. It's just not, there's just something about it that makes me not pick it up as much. So, okay, let's go back down and look at the next pen, which is tied for, you know, first place, really. The purple one with the Fude nib and the Opus 88 Coloro demonstrator, which is this one, are tied for my attention. They're the first ones I grab when I go to write a letter. So, and this has got the Parker green, the modern version of the ink, and I just, you know, filled it up with what I had left of my sample. And this holds 3.5 mils. So I'm going to enjoy this for a good long time. It's got the broad nib on it, and it's got a little heart. There's just no problems whatsoever with that. It's going so well. And then last in my original 8 is the Genhao 85 with an extra fine nib and Parker Quink Blue Black. And I'm having kind of the same thing with this as I am with the Monteverde. I'm wondering if it was the best ink nib combination, because I'm just not liking it. And yet I love the pen. I love the looks of the pen. I know these little Genhao extra fine nibs are okay with some inks, so I'm going to be looking for a different ink, I think. And I love the Parker Blue Black and other things, so that kind of surprised me, but that's what this is all about, you know, trial and error. Let's see, am I holding it right? Probably not. No, I wasn't. Okay. So this is Genhao. Again, nothing really wrong with it, except I feel like I'm not getting much of a line, and it's an extra fine, so I really should have expected that, I guess. 85 with an extra fine hooded nib. Let's see here. Well, it's got pretty good flow. Yeah, Parker Blue Black. There's not a whole lot I can do for this except change the ink. I, you know, could just try to open it up a little, but I don't want to break the nib or anything. And admittedly, I'd have to look into what else, other options there might be. But I'm thinking maybe like Rohr and Klinger Acacia or something that I know kind of falls out of the nib or fire hoses out, maybe. I don't know. I'm not super accustomed to the Parker Quink inks either, so it just could be, I mean, this asking a lot out of an extra fine nib, and it's performing just fine. It's just not thick enough for me. That's an old story though with me, so okay, so let's move on and just look at the other pens I inked up, which is kind of rare for me to go this overboard, but I did. I got them all in the ink journal. This is also Tomoe River 68 GSM paper. Let's make this bigger so that you can see it a little better. Okay, and we'll just take them one at a time. The first one, well, I want to just show you the ink tiles. I guess I've buried them. Oh my goodness, they're here some. Oh, here they are. Okay, so the first thing was, of course, I showed you that I wasn't as happy with the Sailor Manyo Akebi in the fine Moonman nib. So I decided, well, I'm going to put that in a TWSBI Go with a broad nib. So I did that. And that's this ink here. And then I decided I want to see them side by side. I want to see the Pilot Iroshizuku. Oh my gosh. I know it's Friday afternoon, but this is ridiculous. Yamabudo. I wanted to see them close together and try to compare and begin to understand, you know, what it is. And what I noticed was in writing letters, one or two of the letters I used both on different pages and then compared. I was getting a lot more gold sheen out of the Sailor Manyo Akebi. And then there's just something about it. It just pops differently. And it's not really completely fair because we are talking a TWSBI broad nib versus a Lamy broad nib. But still, that's pretty close. So let's see. Where are they? Here it is. Okay, so I've got the Sailor Manyo Akebi in this one, the TWSBI Sapphire, and it's wonderful. It's just like a go-to, but it's not, I don't normally intend to do this, but I did it anyway. Got to be honest. Okay, and then the old standby, the Lamy Vista, which has been around since the beginning with me, has the Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo. And they both shade really well. Let's see. Can hold that up a little closer, but they both really shade well. And of course I'm getting just a little bit thicker flow out of the TWSBI broad nib out of the Go, but the two Goes that I have are really wet broad writers. I mean, I have an Eco that doesn't come close to these two, so that shows you there could be a little variety there, but both are equally pretty, really nice. I've had people ask me about how they compared, so I thought maybe it would be good to include. They're pretty close, but there's more gold sheen on the Akebi. And then next up, I just couldn't help myself. That Robert Oster bronze was so much fun for 30 inks, 30 days that I put it in the Genhao X750 with a broad goulet nib, and that's going great too. Oh my goodness, so that's extended my letter writing since some of those finer nibs in the original 8. I'm really liking like this one, the Platinum, and the Opus. So I find myself turning to these for letter writing. And then next, I decided I wanted to see how the Robert Oster Gold Antiqua compared to the bronze. So I went ahead and in the Diplomat Magnum with a broad nib, and that's a nice juicy broad nib. I put the Gold Antiqua in there, and I've been enjoying both of these for letter writing. Super nice. Really, really good. Then, okay, so then I got the new pen that I just did a review, or not a review, a first impressions on. I can't decide whether it's supposed to be like this or like this. If you put those side things like this, then you can read core, but it's kind of cool like this too, so I guess it's up to me. Anyway, this has been going great because I just am enchanted by the pen and I've been using it. I'm taking notes on a book called Burnout, and it's really, really a good book. It's actually, it sounds kind of negative, but it's not. It's how to deal with the stress response, and it's really cool. It's sort of like how to avoid burnout, but the title of it is Burnout. So I've been doing all my note-taking on the Tomoe River, the author notebook with this, and it's going great. So I've found this is fine. Now, this writes more like a medium. You can see this, it says XL and it's supposedly broad, but compared to those broad nibs, all those are all broad. You can tell that looks more medium. So then this pen inspired this because I've had this little other Rotring.
It's 4 p.m.
Oh my goodness, I can't avoid that clock. I've had this in my collection a long time, and I just have been lazy about inking it up. I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, I did ink it up. It's got a medium nib on it. I can't really determine. I've got some notes. I'm not really sure what it is, but I've buried my notes. It could be a Rotring 400, or it could be a Esprit, E-S-P-R-I-T. I just can't figure out what it is. I mean, it's got that neat grip, and it's a real slim pen, so it goes into that Noctilula with a pencil beside it, which is really a neat bonus. And it writes really smooth. But it was all because I thought, well, why haven't I ink that one up. One of these, I have two of them, and one of them doesn't have a converter, and one of them is missing like a ring here. But these were sent by a pen friend a long time ago, and I wish I had inked this up before because it's nice. But it's got the Noodler's Purple Mountain Majesties. Let's see. I was going to go ahead and... You see, the Purple Mountain Majesties in the Fude nib was a lot darker, but still it holds its own in that medium nib really well. And here's where we could compare the Akebi in the fine Moonman nib to the broad Twisby nib. It's just, there's no comparison. You get a lot more ink laying down with the broad nib. So it's been really exciting and fun, but of course at the end of the month I'll do a report card, and I'll end up having to do two because I've got I've got more than the usual amount of pens inked up. So of course, kind of typical after a ink challenge like that to feel a little bit. I was using just Lamy pens just about the whole month, except for a few that were left over that were already, you know, I was using my Lamy Vista and Lamy All-Star and a Lamy Safari, so I got a little bit bored, and so that's what I guess accounts for all this inking up all these pens. Because I've been meaning to stick to about 8 plus my two, my Twisby Ecos are attached to my daily journals, my bullet journal and my other journal. So, gosh, it's been going well. If I had to pick a favorite out of absolutely everything, it would be really difficult because I'm just still so enchanted by the Rotring, which I'm sure it's a honeymoon period still with this one. But then, oh my goodness, I can't believe what this little pen does for my writing. It's really, really neat, and it just underscores the fact that no matter how broad the line gets, I like it better and better the broader the line gets, I guess. So that one has been. And then the Opus 88 Coloro Demonstrator. So it's like a three-way tie, I guess, between these. Yeah, it really is, to be honest. That's where I'm at. Let's see. And then, of course, some of these are I consider workhorses, like the Twisby Go and the Lamy Vista and the Jinhao and even the Magnum, the Diplomat Magnum. You know, it's a daily writer that just gets pulled out a lot for letter writing and stuff. So it's going really well. I'm afraid the next time I do a video, it's going to be really lengthy or something because of the report card, and then I'll have the June pens. So how's it going for you? Are you sticking to your regular amount of inked pens, or have you gone completely crazy like me? I just like looking at some of these. They're just, I don't know. And the more I like looking at them, the more I end up writing with them. So that's really cool. And then this one is just all what it'll do. It's like, I'm not sure it would matter what this nib was in. For a nib holder, it's the nib that's getting me that result like that. Oh my goodness. So I think I've gone on long enough, and hopefully we'll meet in the comments, and you could tell me what you're enjoying for your pens. And I've got my homework cut out for me, because I really need to figure out, definitely need to do something on that little purple Zenzoi, because you can't have a nib misaligned or you'll be digging paper and ruining it more. So I've got to fix it or swap the nib. Then the Monteverde MVP, I really want to carry that. So I need to get, well, I'd like a bright blue ink that would go good in it. And then I'm never going to give up on this little Jinhao 85. I love the looks of it. So I'm thinking probably I'll just go back in and try Roaring Klinger Cassia. That's my go-to ink that will tell me a lot. Because if I put that in here and I'm still not happy with flow and with, you know, then I'll know more. So I'll let you know when we get to the end of the month, right before June, and I'll check in with you again. So I'll see you later. I could probably talk your ear off till it fell off and rolled down the floor, but that's okay. We could do without that. So let me hear from you in the comments. Bye for now.